guys, welcome back. We'll call this part 2 of working on the Plymouth Scamp. I'm going to take my DA sander, my regular 6-inch DA sander, and I'm going to 80 grit down this quarter panel and the door. I'll show you doing it. I'll show me doing it for a minute or so, and then I'll turn the camera off. I'll get it all sanded down, then we'll blow it off, and then we'll start mixing up Bondo, and we're going to put a nice thin coat down it, just like we did on the passenger side. Door needs a little bit of adjustment. So let me get set up here and we'll start sanding down this passenger side. Okay, I'm going to continue to sand this down with 80 grit and get it all scuffed up, and then we'll start mixing up some Bondo. When I put the Bondo on, I'm only going to put a little bit of hardener in it because it's 80 degrees outside and it's going to set really fast. If I use too much hardener, I'm going to run out of time before I can get it spread onto the car. We're going to mix up several batches in order to put a coat on the whole quarter panel and the door. So it'll probably be 5 or 6 mixings of Bondo to do that. And if you look, that gas cap, I'm going to end up painting it body color like the older Dodge Darts and Scamps. They were the color of the car, so that chrome is all screwed up on it, and it's cheaper to just sand it down and paint it the color of the car, which will be plum crazy purple. So let me get this sanded down and then I'll come back. Okay, I have the quarter panel and the door all sanded down with 80 grit sandpaper. So now I'm going to mix up some Bondo and start putting a coat all the way down the quarter and the door. Unfortunately, the sun's out, so the metal's pretty hot. Bondo's going to dry really fast, so I didn't do the fender yet. I'll sand that next while the Bondo is drying on these two parts. So let's go get some Bondo and we'll mix up a batch. I'll show you how I'm going to mix it, and then after that I will finish it up off camera. There's no point in having a big long video of me spreading Bondo down the side of a car. So let me go grab some and then I'll be right back. Okay, this is how much hardener I put in for all that Bondo because of how hot it is outside. And when you mix this stuff, you want to take it and you want to fold it over. You don't want to stir it, because when you stir it, you create air bubbles. So we don't want to do that. We want to try to keep the pinholes as least as possible. I forgot to tell you yesterday, this Bondo came from, I did tell you it came from O'Reilly's. I've never used it before. I'm actually pretty happy with it. I think it works pretty good. And I think it was $50 a gallon, which is not bad at all considering most Bondos anymore are upwards of 100, if not more, depending on what brand you're using. So I'm just gonna keep mixing up batches about this size, and I'm just literally going to spread it down the full quarter panel and the door. I'm not gonna do the bottom section of the door, but I do have to do the bottom section of the quarters, because of the where I did some Bondo glass. It's messy. There's really no way around it, especially today because I got to work really fast so that this stuff doesn't dry up. And if it dries up, it dries up. It's just I waste money at that point. I'm trying not to do that. Not worried about this gas cap. Gonna be painting it, so if it gets sanding scratches on it, it's not a big deal. And I'll show you guys how I get the body line straight again too, but you won't see that until I do the primering. because the body lines might get a little wavy from doing this. So it's not a real thick coat at all. It's basically like a bunch of filler primer. And I can't go over it too many times because it's already drying because of the sun. And I got some in this groove here, which I'm gonna have to clean out. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and mix up more and continue to do this until the whole quarter panel is covered. And then we'll come back and start sanding it. Okay, I have the first coat of filler. I gotta put a little bit more on the front of that door. I forgot that. So I'm gonna put a little bit more on the front of that door and I'm gonna let this dry for half an hour. It is not perfectly smooth. It's not smooth because it's literally drying within 5 minutes at the most, not even, probably 3-4 minutes. It's fine. 90% of this is going to end up on the ground. I'm just merely using this to just straighten out a bunch of dents and dings and minor imperfections. I probably could have 2K filler primed and block sanded this car. It probably would have took 3 times of primering it. And if I would have went that route, I probably would have had about $300 in materials. I'm about a gallon into Bondo so far, and I have the trunk lid, the other quarter panel, and the other door done. And I'm gonna have this quarter panel, this door, and that part of the roof. I'll probably end up with 2 gallons of Bondo. And 2 gallons of Bondo at $49, we're looking about $100, $110 with tax. So it's a third of the price by doing it this way. Plus this way, it's quicker for me to do this, sand it down, put it in primer, then I could block it, do another light primering and one more blocking. If I were to load up 4 or 5 coats of 2K primer, I would have to probably let this set for a week maybe to really get it to dry so that I could sand it. But by doing this, I'm gonna have to use less filler primer, which means I can get on it the next day or the day after, 2 days later. I'll let it sit out in the sun and I'll be able to block sand it down and be able to, put another coat of primer on it. I'll probably put 3 coats of primer on it for the first primering, and then the second primering I'll probably just put 2 coats on. So while this is setting up, I'm gonna mix a little bit more up for the front of that door, and then I'm gonna sand the 2 fenders down while I'm waiting for this. I'm gonna give it a half an hour just to make sure it's really dry. Okay, I got both fenders sanded down, so now I'm gonna mix up some filler. I'm gonna go ahead and spread the 2 fenders. At that point, we'll be able to come back and sand the quarter and door and the sail panel. I also sanded back here because I saw some dings and dents in this as well, so I'm going to go ahead and hit that. And I missed one dent over right here, little ding right there. So I'm going to go ahead and mix up the rest of the filler, get the fenders done and that back panel. And then today I'm going to sand all this filler down that I put on, and that'll be it for today. Yesterday I have about 4 hours into it. Today I'll probably have about 3 hours into it. So it'll be 7 hours into it so far. I'm trying to do this whole bodywork and paint in a 40-hour work week. So we'll see if we can do it or not. I still have to do the roof, the panel behind the trunk lid, and then the hood's gonna be last. I'm not worried about the hood right now. I'm gonna take it off once it comes time, and I'm gonna get the body painted first, and I'll worry about the hood afterwards. I might get it body worked and stuff before I paint the car. I'll probably do that. But the hood's going flat black anyway, so it's not gonna matter if it, obviously it's not gonna get painted at the same time as the car. So let me go ahead and finish spreading some filler on here, and then I'll come back and we'll start sanding it down. Okay, let's start knocking this down with the 8-inch mud buster. Now, once again, this thing rotates and oscillates, so it does both movements at the same time. Now, this is a used piece of 80 that I had used on the trunk lid, so let's see if it's still sharp enough to cut down this corner panel. I'm not going to record the whole sanding process, but I'm just going to record a little bit of it so you guys can see how quick this thing works and how easy it is to knock it down. So there you have it. You can see how quick that I got that whole top part of that quarter panel knocked down, and this is with a used piece of sandpaper. So I'm going to continue to do this down the rest of the car, and then we'll come back and we'll use one of the other sanders to get in all the edges and stuff like that. Okay, that took me about 20 minutes or so to get down all 3 panels. I did not do the lower part. I'm going to use this on the lower part, and I'm also going to go over the rest of the car with this. The reason why I'm not using the mud buster is that's got a curve to it, and it's pretty hard to hold that and keep a good consistent flow when it's on a curve like that. On these flat panels, it's nice and easy. Now, if you guys are wondering, the body lines on a Dodge and a Chrysler are real faint going down the body. They might be a little bit Ripley when I first filler prime them from the way I'm sanding it. But what I'll do is I'll run a line of tape down the car, and I'll sand the filler primer on the top part of the car down to the piece of tape. Then I'll remove that piece of tape, put a piece of tape on the top side, sand down to the next body line, and I'll do that. And by doing that, I'll correct anything that is crooked on the body lines. So let's go ahead and use this sander and start knocking down these bottom parts. Show you what this looks like, how it gets it nice and smooth and flat, so everything looks nice and smooth. I got a little bit on the edges I'll have to get with the regular DA sander. Right here, this is high, the metal popped out. I can actually feel it, physically feel it being high right here, so I'll have to tap that in with the body hammer, put a little bit more filler just right in this area. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take this 80 grit on this file board, this little 6-inch, and I'm gonna go down the whole side of the car. There are gonna be a few little pits like this in the Bondo, which that's because it was drying so fast on me, I couldn't get a chance to keep going over it. We'll hit that with a little bit of glazing, putty, or icing, whatever you wanna call it. And right here is still a dent. That's still a ding right there. It's right in the body line, so I'm gonna have to put a little bit of filler on both surfaces and then fill it out. Usually You want to coat the whole panel if you're going to put an Cerakote filler on. But once again, budget paint job, we're going to do it a little differently. Everything feels nice and straight though. All these spots were high spots. Everywhere else is low spots. So as you can tell, this thing would have been really, really ripply if we didn't do this. So I'm going to go ahead and sand for a little while longer, and then we'll come back and we'll take a look at it. Let's do some sanding on the door real quick so you can see how it works. Give you an idea how that works. You see how it just smooths it right out. Kind of hard to see. I don't know how well you can see with the sun going. And then if you guys get Bondo on your window or something like that, don't wipe it off when it's wet. Let it dry, and it usually just picks right off like that. See? It's gone. If you try to do it while it's wet, it just smears everywhere and makes more of a mess. So, all right, I'm going to keep sanding. Come back in a little bit. We'll do a little walk around and see how it's looking. There's going to be some few little nicks and dents that will not be fixed today. We'll do that after we get the roof and this back panel done. So once the whole car has a coat of mud and it's sanded down, I'll go back through panel by panel with 180 grit and sand anything that needs sanded, and then fix any little dings or dents that are still remaining. Okay, now I'm going to go around all the edges where I can't get any of those big sanders in, like along here and stuff, with my 6-inch DA, and just kind of feather it back in. So I'm going to go around and do that to all the spots that I can't get the big sander in at. Okay, I just blew it off. I'm letting it warm up for a minute. I'm going to put it back in the spray booth, and then we'll do a walk around and see how it's looking. Okay, let's take a look here. So basically, I'm 7.5 hours into this. And today we got this whole side done. We got the up here done. And you can see the other layers that I sanded through, and I'm really not hitting metal anywhere, so that's a good thing. If you start hitting metal, then you got real high spots. And then this side we got the fender done. So tomorrow what I want to do is I want to get this panel done, the roof, and this back panel here behind the back window. I want to get those three sanded down, coated with a bit of filler, and then get them all sanded down. And then that'll be Tuesday night. And then Wednesday night, after I get done with work, I want to go around the car and sand the rest of it down. Any spots that are not sanded, you know, like all these little edges and stuff here. I got a little bit of surface rust here. I need to wire wheel that out, clean that up. And then probably Thursday, I'll put a coat of primer on this car. And then Saturday, I'll block it down if it's not raining outside. I don't know if it's supposed to rain or not. And once again, I'm trying to do this within 40 hours and for $800 or less. So that is my goal. And in the end, I want to have a pretty straight looking car for not a lot of labor and not a lot of material cost. This is not going to be a perfect car. This is not a show car. That's not what this is about. This is just about making a car that is a decent looking daily driver, something that could be driven in the summertime. You don't have to be embarrassed to, you know, drive around in it. Too many TV shows nowadays and over the past 20 years have just emphasized so much on how everything's got to look like a show car, this and that. And it kind of, for me, it kind of took the fun away on doing a lot of this stuff. I remember doing this exact type of work when I was 14, 15 years old was when I painted my first car. And I used to do all my body work and everything outside. I'd take the car to my grandma's house. My brother would drive it there and we would paint it in her garage. And, Ford EXP, I think it was an 82 or 83, was like the first car I've ever painted in my life. And that was, I think I was 14 or 15 years old when I did that. So it's kind of cool to do something like this and kind of bring it back to what I did so long ago. You know, we're talking 34 years ago, 33 years ago that I was doing stuff like that. I got a little Bondo on the bumper and stuff like that. I'm not worried about that. I just sand it down anyways. So, all right, guys, this is going to be the end of part 2. Tomorrow evening will be part 3, and we'll finish up all the heavy body work. And then Wednesday night, we will do part 4. I'll go around and I'm going to sand all the rest of the spots down on the car that aren't sanded and fix any major dings and dents that I see. Whatever I miss, we will catch it on the first filler priming and block sanding, and we'll touch up anything we miss, and then we'll do another light primering, and then it'll be ready for paint. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to ask. Other than that, if you like what you're seeing, please like, subscribe, and I will see you guys later.